Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Nyquist. I am one of 4 college and career navigators that works with the adult learner population here at the College of Lake County. I am joined with my colleague, Aaliyah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Aaliyah. As Sarah mentioned, I am also one of the 4 adult learners CCNs. I have a little bit of background working with financial aid, so we're here to answer any questions that you have in regards to the financial aid process and scholarships. And Sarah's going to go ahead and take it away.
All right. So the first thing I want to touch base on is a little bit removed from financial aid, just to give you all a little bit of background about who we are, why we exist, and then we'll go into the actual meat of the financial aid presentation. So basically, College of Lake County has been working with a couple of different partners, including Achieving the Dream, to get a temperature of what our community and what our students are looking for from the College of Lake County. And so we met with students, we met with community members, faculty and staff, and we developed something called the Lancer Success Framework. And so this success framework is a variety of different meetings, groups, initiatives to improve the experience of College of Lake County for all of our students. The College and Career Navigator position was one of the outcomes of that framework. And so we will talk a little bit more about what exactly a College and Career Navigator is, but this was basically a role that we felt there was a need for so that we can better serve our community and our students. So as the College and Career Navigator, basically students and their families have one person to guide them from the very beginning of interest in the college all the way through to registration for their first semester of classes. Now, we do have high school college and career navigators and adult learner college and career navigators. So we do have some college and career navigators who are CCNs, who are placed into specific high schools that are participating in the Lake County area. A couple of schools that come to mind are Wakanda, Mundelein, Zion Benton, Warren, and North Chicago. We will be adding more schools as we continue to grow our team, and we are looking forward to serving those high schools in a variety of different functions. Now, for students like yourselves, the adult learner population, and then for the other area high schools, college and career navigators are positioned on the CLC campus rather than being in the high schools. So we are here to serve you no matter where you are, and we can serve you virtually, we can serve you on campus, and we can meet you wherever it is that you are. Now, after you've met with the College and Career Navigator to go through the entire enrollment process, all the way through to your first semester of classes, then we will do a soft handoff to an academic success advisor, and you will likely meet your ASA at the new student convocation. And so this person will then be assigned to you, and they will answer your questions and work with you as you continue your course of study. So they will basically take you from your second semester of classes all the way through to graduation, and even to help you with transfer or finding a job after you've graduated. So you do have a team of college and career navigators. Like I said, there are 4 of us. And so as you can see, we are broken down by last name. And then if you are an international high school or an international student or a homeschooled student, then you will work with either myself or Ashley Ward. So just keep an eye on those alphabets. There will be more information, including our contact information at the end of the presentation. So if you didn't catch us now, don't stress, don't feel like you need to pause and rewind. We will be presenting that information and our contact information at the end of the presentation. So before we go into the meat of financial aid, the first thing I want to touch base on is how much does it cost to even attend College of Lake County? So for in-district students, the total cost for tuition and fees is $144 per credit hour. So for each class, it's going to be somewhere around $450, and that's for a 3 credit hour class. Now, let's compare that to a public university and a private university. So if you're looking at one semester, it would be a little over $2,200. For a full year, a little over $4,400 at CLC. Now, if you compare that to a public university, it's going to cost closer to $15,000 for the first year. When you go to a private university, that number jumps up to about $40,000 per year. And that is just tuition and fees. That does not include room and board. That does not include your books and supplies. That is just the base tuition and fees. Now, when you look at 4 years, you will see that those costs go up dramatically, especially at the private institution. Now, if you were to start at CLC and then do like a 2+2, so 2 years at CLC and then 2 years at one of these different institutions, as you can see, the cost that you incur is going to go down dramatically, and you will save thousands of dollars. So now Aaliyah is going to take it away and talk to you a little bit more about the FAFSA.
Thanks, Sarah. So we're going to talk about the FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid, which is governed by the U.S. Department of Education. So why the FAFSA? Completing the FAFSA will let you see if you are qualified for any federal aid, whether it be grants, work study, or loans. So what is a grant? The grants do not need to be paid back. They're based on financial needs. So they go to students who are showing the most financial need when they complete the FAFSA. And they cover your expenses for those eligible programs. So not every program will be covered by those grants. Then there's the work study. So what is the work study? So that's funding that's available to colleges so they can offer students employment opportunities. Work study is a program that's not available at every single college, but at CLC, it is available if you are qualified for that. So that's not something that's generally available. The federal work study is not generally available for all students, but if you show that need on your FAFSA when you complete it, and then you apply for those jobs, then you'll be able to get a work study position. It does increase your chances of being selected for on-campus employment. And then you'll earn a paycheck. So it's just like kind of like a regular job. You'll go in, you apply, you'll work for those funds, and then you get those funds paid directly to you. Lastly, the FAFSA will see if you qualify for any loans. Loans are money that is, you have to work, you have to pay back. So that's where you have to sign a master promissory note. They'll tell you how much you qualify for the loans at the end of the FAFSA. They must be paid back starting 6 months after you stop attending school. So whether you just take a year off of school after those 6 months, after departing from that institution, you will have to start paying that back. Or even if you graduate from the school, it'll start paying back after 6 months. They will accrue interest while the student is in school. There are some exceptions with that as well. And generally, they do have lower interest rates. So loans from the federal government typically have maybe like half of the interest rate that a loan would occur from like your bank or your credit union or anything like that. So here's just some FAFSA FAQs. What's needed to complete the FAFSA? So first, you'll need your social security number or your alien registration number. You need your tax returns or W-2s for the last 2 years. So they ask for prior tax information. You'll need your driver's license number if you do have one. If you don't have one, that's okay. But it does help with guaranteeing to see if you meet the residency requirement. You'll also need child support records if you have received them or paid them with your parent. Records of untaxed income, so your disability benefits, workers' compensation. You need financial records for assets, so assets such as if you own a home or a business. You'll need records of IRA, 401k, or 403b distributions, if that applies to you. And then you also need your date of marriage, divorce, separation, death of spouse, or other change in marital status. So what is the deadline to submit the FAFSA? So for the 2020-2021 school year, the deadline would be June 30th, 2021. For the 2021-2022 school year, it'll be June 30th, 2022. And then for the Illinois state, so that would be like your math grant or anything like that that comes from the state of Illinois, you want to complete those applications as soon as possible after October 1st because those funds are limited and they do run out. Will you need your parents' income to complete the FAFSA? So that kind of depends on if you are a dependent or an independent student. Dependent students are those students who typically cannot say yes to those 13 dependency questions on the FAFSA, and independent students are those who can say yes to one of those questions. If you have any questions about your dependency, you can always reach out to us and we can help you figure out if you are a dependent or an independent student. what is an FSA ID and how can I set one up? So an FSA ID is basically your electronic signature to sign the FAFSA. You use this FSA ID to log into the FAFSA to sign it at the end, and then any other documents that you have or questions that you have within the federal government website, you can go ahead and use your FSA ID. We'll go a little bit into the FSA ID at the end of the presentation as well. All right, so the alternative application for Illinois financial aid. So the alternative application is intended for qualifying undocumented and transgender students. These are for the students who cannot complete the FAFSA. You have to show that you cannot complete the FAFSA in the beginning of the alternative application. There will be a couple of questions that you'll have to answer to see if you qualify for the alternative application, but you cannot complete the FAFSA and the alternative application. With the alternative application, you'll also see that you can only qualify for a certain amount of aid. So, like I said, it's designed for students who are ineligible for the FAFSA. So those undocumented students, those DACA recipients, and then transgender students who cannot apply for the FAFSA. Like I said, you can only qualify for the FAFSA. You can only get a certain amount of aid. So that's for the Illinois MAP grant. The alternative application is specifically for Illinois students. You can only go and fill out the application. You can only go to schools that are MAP approved schools for the state of Illinois. You can find those Illinois MAP approved schools on ISAC's website. And if you have a question about that, you can reach out to us as well. And we are an Illinois MAP approved school. And there's no loan opportunities with the MAP grant with the alternative application as well. So if you need a little bit extra funding, that's where you will go into, learning about and applying for scholarships as well. All right, so will you need your parents' info? So it's exactly just as the FAFSA. It depends on if you are a dependent or independent student. Are international students eligible to complete the FAFSA? This is only designed for undocumented Illinois residents. So students who are international students, you need to work with us in the college and the international office to see what aid would apply for you as an international student. And what is the deadline to submit? Just like any other aid within the state of Illinois, since this is the state of Illinois and it's a state program, you want to complete that application as soon as possible after October 1st, because you will also be working, I wouldn't say competing against, but you'll also be, getting funds that are also going to students who fill out the FAFSA. So it's double that you will be doing. So you want to make sure that you complete that application as soon as possible after October 1st. And if you need help completing those alternative applications, you can reach out to us and we can help you with that as well. And then Sarah is going to go ahead and jump in and talk about our scholarships.
All right, so CLC does have a foundation that has a ton of scholarship money available to students. And so I recommend that every single student, whether you are taking one course at CLC, whether you are an international student, whether you are undocumented, whether you are a traditional student, no matter what, I recommend filling out this application. It is one application and it can go out to all of the CLC Foundation scholarships. It takes about maybe an hour to complete. It could take less. And we will go through each section of the scholarship application in a moment, so that way you can see exactly what is available to you. Now, something that a lot of students don't realize is that there is a lot of scholarship money that goes unclaimed every year. And so by filling out this application, you are doing your part to make sure that that money doesn't go unclaimed and it finds its way in your pocket. So to complete the scholarship application, go ahead and take a picture of this screen, so that way you know exactly what the website is that you need to go to, and then you're going to scroll down to the middle of the page and you will start to see this link here. So you'll go ahead and click on that, and then you will use your same login credentials that you would use to log into your MyCLC student portal. If you don't remember your login credentials, or if you don't know your login credentials, let your CCN know. We can absolutely reset those for you. The next part of the application is to indicate whether or not you are going to be completing the FAFSA. And so this first question is going to ask you basically, have you filled out the FAFSA or the alternative application? If you're an international student and you are interested in filling out scholarship applications, but you don't qualify for the FAFSA or the alternative application, then we do have a financial consideration form that you can complete that will basically give us all of the need information that we would use to make decisions for need-based scholarships. So please don't count yourself out. If that's something that you are interested in pursuing, let your CCN know. We'll help you with answering this question. And then you're going to answer how you will plan to enroll for the upcoming school year. And then we get into some of the short answer questions. Now I call these short answer questions because they're not really essays. As you can see, you can only use up to 500 words in each of these responses. And so these are the questions that are on the scholarship application. I literally screenshotted this from the application, so you'll know exactly which questions are being asked. Now, you may be wondering, do I have to fill all of this out at one time? This seems like kind of a lot of work. You absolutely do not. So you can either write down these questions from this presentation, you can log into the scholarship application and take a note from there, you can start answering them, you can save your application, and you can come back to it later. That's why we use the login credentials, so that you can save your application, come back to it, and submit it whenever you are done with the questions. This is the second set of short answer questions. And so one of the things that I like to point out is that it does ask if you can describe any other information that would be useful to the Scholarship Review Committee. This is definitely a question that you're going to want to answer. Do not leave this blank. There are always some kind of circumstances. There are always different things that the scholarship committees can consider. So anything that has caused you to, any personal circumstances that you or your family are facing, any particularly proud achievements that you have accomplished, anything that you have had trouble with. Maybe you have a learning disability and that has caused you to have to overcome that in order to be a successful student. The scholarship committees want to hear about it. They want to hear why they should give you this money. And so this is your chance, this question is your chance to give them all the fuel that they need to give you all that money. And now towards the end of the application, you will see that there is a place for you to provide letters of recommendation. Now, they are not required, but they are ultimately very helpful. So I would recommend trying to get 2 letters of recommendation. If you can get more, then that would be wonderful. If you can only get 1, that's great. Whatever you can get, definitely include it here. So that way, again, it just increases your chances of being eligible for certain scholarships. And then there are some things that are expected of you if you are awarded scholarships. One of those things is that you will complete a thank you note to the scholarship committee that has awarded you funds. And so if you accept a scholarship, it is expected that you will write a thank you note. And if you don't do so, then you could lose your scholarship. Basically, have manners. They gave you money, say thanks. And then you'll also just make sure that all of the information that you have on record is correct, and your CCN can definitely help you with that. So if you're looking to make sure that your transcripts are on file, you want to make sure maybe old test scores are on file, that you've done your placement testing, make sure that your program of study is updated. Those are all things that we will do as part of our first conversation. So definitely work closely with your college and career navigator so that way we can get you successfully completed the scholarship application. Now, for those students who either do complete financial aid or don't complete the financial aid process, either way, you are going to be required to complete some kind of a payment or a payment plan. And so I'm going to compare the 2 different types of payment plans that we have, just so that way you're all aware of what exactly is expected of you as a student so that you don't get dropped for non-payment. So the first one we're going to talk about is the deferred payment plan. So this is only available to students who have completed the FAFSA or the alternative application for Illinois financial aid. Once CLC has received your FAFSA or your alternative app, then we will put an indicator in your account that says you are eligible for the deferred payment plan. Now, the deferred payment plan is basically just telling us that, hey, don't drop me from this class. I'm gonna give you your money, but I'm just waiting on my financial aid. So please don't stress about it. You're not responsible to pay anything until about halfway through the semester when financial aid disperses. And this just lets us know that that's your plan. And again, it will delay your payment until after financial aid has been dispersed. Now, and a key piece to the deferred payment plan. If for some reason something happens with your financial aid, either you're not awarded the grants that you thought you would be, or your student loans fell through, or you don't meet the qualifications to receive the aid that you had originally planned for. Let's say you sign up for this deferred payment plan and then financial aid doesn't come. You will still be responsible for the payments on your account. So I like to make sure that that's very clear, that even though we are deferring your payments, eventually the school still needs to get paid for their tuition and fees, because we are providing classes and education to you, and we are expecting that you will pay your tuition and fees, whether that's through financial aid or out of pocket. And so just keep in mind that it is just deferring your payments. It is not eliminating your payments. I do get questions about that a lot, so I like to make sure that that's nice and clear. Now, for those students who are going to be paying out of pocket, or whose financial aid only gets them so far and they have to make the rest of their payments out of pocket, we do have an installment payment plan. This is available to all students. So regardless of whether you have completed the FAFSA, whether you are a full-time student or a part-time student, a degree-seeking student or a course taker, this is going to be available to everyone. And it divides your tuition and fees for the semester into monthly payments. And we will, in the next couple of slides, see exactly how that's broken down. It could be as few as 1 monthly payments, or it could go up to 6 monthly payments. So let's look at an example. So this is our summer payment plan options. And this looks a little confusing, but we're going to kind of go through it. Now, as you can see, there is a last day to sign up for the payment plan in order to get that number of payments. So let's say that you just registered for your summer classes today. It's the beginning of April. We're not anywhere near the April 25th deadline, so there's no down payment required. You will have up to 3 monthly payments, and that means that your monthly payments will be a little smaller because they're broken down into 3 payments. And those payments will be due in May, June, and July. Now, as we get closer to the start of the term, you'll notice that not only is a down payment required, but you also have fewer monthly payments and due in June and July. Once we get to the very end of the semester, where classes have already started, there's a 50% down payment, and then you have 1 remaining payment due in July. Okay. And we have options for payments to be due on the 5th of the month or on the 20th of the month. So if you're someone who gets paid once a month or biweekly, you can definitely make sure that you're choosing the option that makes the most sense for you. Now, in the fall semester and the spring semester, you'll see that we have more options because those semesters are longer. They're 16 weeks long instead of 8 weeks long. So we have more time for you to separate those payments throughout. So as you can see, there are more options for you to pay or to set up your payment plan without a down payment. And then you could have as many as 6 monthly payments that'll be paid out through June and November. And that is going to be, if you can get up to 6 monthly payments, that's going to give you the lowest monthly payment. If you, as you get down to fewer monthly payments, your monthly payment is going to get higher. So just keep that in mind. The sooner you set up your payment plan, the better it's going to be for you. Now I'd like to touch base on some military benefits, because even though military benefits are not through the FAFSA necessarily or the alternative application, they are still a form of financial aid. So there are several types of military benefits. This is not a comprehensive list by any means. There are a ton of different programs throughout the military for service members and veterans and their family members, but these are some of the common ones that we see at CLC. So the first one is tuition assistance, and this is for active service members. So we do have the Great Lakes Naval Station, which is really close to us. And so we do get a lot of students who are active duty stationed at Great Lakes who are using tuition assistance. And so generally speaking, it can be applied for up to 12 credit hours on an annual basis. And it does require an academic plan. So you do need to be enrolled in a certificate or a degree plan, and then your College and Career Navigator can provide a plan to you so that way you can submit for your benefit. The next one we'll talk about is the GI Bill. This could potentially be available to service members, veterans, or family members. It just depends on what branch you're in, whether you're in the reserves or you're active duty. So it's going to look a little different for each student. It does cover tuition and fees, and sometimes also gives you a specific allowance for housing or other expenses. And one of the things that I like to make sure to be, I guess, clear about is that the GI Bill is time-based. So it is encouraged that you will attend on a full-time basis. So let's talk about what that means. So as a student, you're going to use, let's say in the summer semester, you're going to use 2 months of your benefit. Now, whether you're taking 1 class or 3 classes in the summer, you're using the same amount of benefit. So it makes sense for you to take more classes to really maximize the benefit that you're getting, because eventually it's going to run out and you don't want to still have school left at the end of it. So while you're working with your college and career navigator, we may suggest that you take more classes or be a full-time student, even if you're working full-time, even if you have obligations, even if you have family. We may encourage you, if you're using the GI Bill, to take more classes, just so that way you're using the benefit to its fullest extent. The next one that we see is the Illinois Veterans Grant. This is for veterans who started their service in Illinois and now have returned to Illinois and reside in Illinois currently. It also covers tuition and fees. And so this is one of those grants that you're definitely going to want to connect with our Veteran Student Services Office for, because there are some different communications with the VA, and we want to make sure that all of the correct paperwork is being submitted. The last one I guess the second to last one is MyCAA. This is specifically for spouses. And so it does require some additional documentation to be filled out by the advisement team or the CCN. And so only specific certifications or degrees are allowed to be used for MyCAA. And so that's something that your college and career navigator will definitely be able to walk you through. We'll work with our Veteran Services Office. And so we will put together a team to make sure that you have everything you need to successfully complete that process and get the funds for the MyCAA. There are other types of aid through Veteran Student Services, and so I always suggest that students connect with them. And so if you are someone who is an active service member, a veteran, a family member of a veteran or service member, take a picture of the screen so that way you know exactly how to get in touch with our Veteran Student Services. They are going to be a great resource for you. And there is a Veterans Lounge. So if you are someone who has been through the military, you know how close the relationship is that you've built with your military family, and you really just miss that environment, there is a Veterans Lounge for you to just be yourself, maybe share your stories with some of your comrades, and meet other students on campus who have gone through similar experiences as yourself. Now, that is the end of the general financial aid presentation. As I had said, here is some of our contact information. I do recommend, depending on what letter of the alphabet your last name falls, take down the number and the email address of the college and career navigator that is assigned to your group, and just reach out to us. Send us an email. Give us a call. Let us know, hey, I just saw your financial aid presentation and I'm interested in learning a little bit more about how I can apply. And we will have a conversation about not just your financial situation, but also what are your goals? What do you want to accomplish? And we want to help you to get there. So definitely take down our information, and then Aaliyah will take it away so that way we can kind of go a little bit more step by step through creating your FSA ID and some of the common questions that we get with the FAFSA. So if you feel pretty comfortable with creating your FSA ID and completing the FAFSA, you can go ahead and end your presentation now. If you'd like some more information or a little bit more step-by-step guide, stick around, keep on listening, and we'll go through that next.
Thanks, Sarah. So like Sarah said, we're going to be talking about creating your FSA ID. It is a process, it is a little bit harder and may need a little bit more explanation. So you can create your FSA ID at studentaid.gov. You'll go to the website and then you'll click create an account. All right, so creating your FSA ID. So your screen will look just like this, creating an FSA ID. It'll tell you everything that you need that you can use your FSA ID for. So like it says on the screen, filling out your FAFSA, signing for your master promissory note that I mentioned earlier, applying for your repayment plans, completing loan counseling, and using the public loan forgiveness help tool. So here, make sure you have the following things ready for you. So you need your social security number or your alien registration number. You'll need your tax returns and W-2s for the last 2 years. So you'll need your driver's license number if that is applicable. It's kind of like what we talked about earlier. Your child support records, received and paid, records of income. You'll need your financial records for assets, and then you'll need your date of marriage, divorce, separation, death of spouse, or other change in marital status. So those are the things you'll need for completing the FAFSA. You won't need all of these for completing your FSA ID and creating your FSA ID, but it's good to already have those handy, especially if you're going to create your FSA ID and go ahead and start that FAFSA right away. So you go to the first screen, where's your personal information. So that's where your name, middle name, and last name, date of birth, and social security number. This should match exactly what's on your social security card or on your green card. If it doesn't match, then we won't be able to match with the Social Security Administration, and that won't allow you to proceed in filling out your application. Next, they'll ask you to create a username that must be unique. When you're typing it in, it'll pop up in the bottom if that username is already taken. If it is already taken, you just add an extra number, or an extra letter or anything like that, so that you can create your unique username. You must use an email address that you have long-standing access to. So we don't recommend that you use your student email. We recommend that you use your personal email, something that you can keep checking regularly throughout the years. And also note your password. It's really important that you write down your password, write down your FSA ID, keep it in a safe place next to your important documents like your taxes and your, driver's license information, your birth certificate, social security card. Keep that information together so that when it's time to fill out your FAFSA every year, you'll be able to log in with and create your FSA ID. All right, so then I'll talk about your contact information. So you'll use your mailing address and where you live. You'll use your phone number. Make sure that your phone number is unique to you. You should not be using a phone number that's someone else's. Because you won't be able to use someone else's phone number, because each phone number and email address is specific to one person, especially with the FSA ID. I know students are creating it with their parents, or if you are an adult learner and you have children that are in school as well, make sure that this is separate, just because you need to verify your login information. And if at any time that you forget your password, they'll ask you to, send a code to your phone number or your email address. So make sure it's unique to you as well. Make sure you click the mobile phone account recovery. It's a little check saying, yes, I would like to use my phone for account recovery, just so that if you do lose your password, you can log back in and you don't get locked out and have to wait a long time before you can log back in. All right, step 4, the select communication preferences. So that'd be your through phone, your email, if they want to send any correspondence to your email as well. Then you'll set up your 4 challenge questions. Those are 4 questions just in case you do get locked out of your FSA ID. You have the option to use your challenge questions. A note with that, the challenge questions, if you do decide to use that to unlock your FSA ID, it will take you another 30 minutes before you can log in to reset your password. And then step 6, verify all information is correct. So go through each of those steps. There will be a page that says, verify your address, your username, your communication preferences, everything like that, to make sure everything is good to go. And then you'll go ahead and verify your phone number and email. So with your verification, they will send you a code. I think it's about a 6-digit code, and you have to verify that, or your FSA ID will not be complete. It's either your phone number or your email. You must verify so that it will be complete, and you'll be able to go ahead and log into that FAFSA. All right, so this is just a 8 application process. You'll start with getting prepared, gathering all of those documents that you need that we talked about in the beginning. You'll go ahead and go to the next step, which is completing the FAFSA form. It's a free application for federal student aid. You go to that website. You're going to apply early as soon as possible. It opens October 1st every single year. Apply as soon as possible to maximize that aid. Then you'll go to step 3, review your student aid report. Your student aid report would be generated when you complete the FAFSA. You'll make corrections if necessary. And then you go to respond to your aid offer. You always want to respond to the school, respond to let us know, hey, I'm coming to CLC and this is what I want to use these funds from the federal government, from the state government. And then you'll go to receive your aid. So you get your aid from your school once you have responded and completed any documents that we want you to complete. And then lastly, you renew your FAFSA. Like I said, every single year, you must reapply every single year to get aid for the following school year. All right, so just a couple common questions that we have come up. So one thing is the safe key. So when you go into the FAFSA, I know you've already created a password, right? But then you also need to create a safe key. The safe key is really, really important. It's kind of like an extra step, an extra password for that specific application. We recommend that you do, a word, 4 numbers, something that you'll remember, just so that when it's time to come back into the application. So say you don't finish it in one sitting, you'll come back and you'll go right back to the place where you left off. If you do forget this, they do have the option to reset it, but don't forget it, write it down with your password as well. All right, and then completing the FAFSA. So this is kind of like what the steps will be in creating the FAFSA, completing the FAFSA. You'll start with your student demographics. So that's the biographical information. So your name, your address, social security number, making sure everything that is correct in that section. And then you go to school selection. So they'll start with your high school. You enter your high school information, you'll confirm it. And then you'll go into selecting the college, which will be CLC. And our school code is 007694. Next, you'll go into dependency status. So that'll determine if you're an independent student or a dependent student, like we talked about earlier. And if you're having questions about whether you're an independent or dependent student, reach out to us, then we can decide and help you decide that which one fits you. Then they'll ask about your parent demographics. So the parent biographical information. So your parents' social security number, their email address, their name, their marital status, everything like that about your parents. They'll ask for that for the students that are dependent students. So they won't ask that if you're an independent student. Next, you'll have your parent financials. So that parent information, if that's applicable for those students who are dependent students. So they'll ask for the tax information. So all of those documents that we ask you to have as a student, they'll want that same thing for your parents as well. Once you get from your parent information, you'll go into the student financials. They'll ask for your tax info. So right now it'll be 2018, 2019 tax info. You fill out the same thing. The parent financials and the student financials do look the same. So when you're going through the application, look on the top left of the screen. It'll show you which section you're in. Make sure you're entering in the right information for the section. So if you are entering in parent information, make sure you're entering in the parent's information. And when you get to the student, make sure you enter in the student, because sometimes students will go ahead and enter in their parents' information twice. And we don't want them to think that you have more money than you do. So make sure you know which section you're in. And then next you'll be in signing and submit. So you're almost done. That's where you use your FSA ID, if you have an FSA ID, to sign the FAFSA. If you are a student whose parents do not have an FSA ID, or they couldn't create one for whatever reason that is, they do have the option to sign and submit with the paper. So they'll allow you to go ahead and print a signature page and mail it in. And then once you go ahead and click submit, completed my FAFSA, then you get to confirmation and you are done with the FAFSA. All right, so another question that we have, household size. That is a question that we get a lot. So where it says enter your number of children here. So that's how many children do you have in the parent's household. So your children, even if they do not live with you. So if you have other students in the household, or maybe that are away at college that your parents financially support or you financially support, you would enter them here. So if they cannot say yes to those 13 dependency questions that we talked about earlier, they would go and fall into this category. And then the last one at the bottom, number in college. This is how many people in college will be in college during that school year in your household. So for the students, if it's just you, you'll just put you. But if you have a brother or a sister that'll be in college, you'll put that as well. All right, and then using the IRS data retrieval tool. This is a really, really great tool that helps with transferring data, so that tax information data into the FAFSA. So most likely you will be already completed. For those who have completed it, you must have completed it to use the IRS data retrieval tool. Most of the tax returns that you will be using or completing will be an IRS 1040. And then you'll select which status. So if you are, what filing status you have, if you're head of household, maritally filing joint, single, maritally filing separately. And then most of those will allow you to use the IRS data retrieval tool. Like I said, it's linking to the IRS. It's a smooth transition to pull in that data. Just less cause for human error as well. So if you get that option, please go ahead and use it. It makes it faster, it makes it easier. So you'll click that little button. All right, that'll take you to the screens letting you know that you will be leaving FAFSA on the web and going to the IRS data retrieval tool site. You'll click go ahead and proceed to that site. Once you get to that, you'll get to this screen, and it's just telling you this is only for U.S. government system, authorized use only. You'll just go ahead and click OK. All right, and then you get to this screen. So this is very, very important that you fill out the information as accurate as possible. If you have your actual physical tax return with you, you want to pull that out and use the address and information that you use on there. It's really, really finicky. So you want to make sure that your name is correct. Your social security number should already be pre-filled. They won't let you change that one on there. Make sure your date of birth is correct. And then when you're putting in your address, make sure your address is exactly how it is on that tax return. On that tax return, if it says you live on Lancer Lane, L-A-N-E, make sure that you type out L-A-N-E. But if you say Lancer Lane as an L-N, the abbreviation, make sure you type in L-N. If they don't match exactly how you filed your taxes, it will not pull your data and let you proceed. So make sure it's exactly how it is on your tax return. All right, so hopefully you'll get to this screen and then you'll be able to transfer your data over from the IRS data retrieval tool. You'll click that first box with the text box right there, and then you'll check it, and then you'll go ahead and click transfer now. It'll highlight and populate in blue. And if you still have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us. We are available to service you, to help you with anything that you have questions about regarding financial aid or just the educational process and getting started at COC in general.
All right, that is it for our presentation. Thank you so much for listening to our presentation. And again, let us know what questions you have. We're very happy to serve you. Bye.